Allegiance by Commissioner Phillips and opening remarks by Commissioner Clyde.
Please rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father in heaven, we thank thee very much for this opportunity we have to be here and meet as a planning commission to discuss some of the business of the city. We ask that we may be watched over and protected, and that we may be able to take care of this business in a efficient manner. And we say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Sorry. Oh, happy birthday, Commissioner Clyde. Okay, so you had a chance to review the agenda. Commissioners, I think the only change is that item number 4 will be continued to next meeting, which will be May 13th. If anyone is here for item 4, just so that you're aware, that item is going to be continued to the next meeting. It's the city code text amendment regarding boarding and rooming house. Anyone want to? And I entertain a motion for...
I'll make a motion that we approve tonight's agenda with the continuation of item 4.
Great.
Second it.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Coombs and a second by Commissioner Phillips to approve tonight's agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. And has everyone had a chance to review the staff reports? If so, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve tonight's staff reports.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Coombs and a second by Commissioner Butler to approve the staff reports for this evening. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Are there any declaration of conflicts or abstentions from the commissioners?
I do have to abstain and due to a conflict on items 1 and 2.
Perfect. So at that time, if you just want to step down, that would be great. And thank you, Commissioner Phillips. It's been noted. All right, with that, we will move to item number 1, which is a public hearing for preliminary subdivision plat located at approximately 1877 West State Street, Sam White's Lane neighborhood. And it is to consider the request of Ridge Point Management Group, LLC, Susan Palmer, for a preliminary commercial subdivision plat called Battle Creek Business Park Plat B on property located at approximately 1877 West State Street in the Grove Zone Commercial Sales Subdistrict. We'll also be hearing at the same time item number 2, which is a public hearing to consider a site plan located at the same address, and this is to consider a request by Ridge Point Management Group, LLC, Susan Palmer, for a site plan for a 3-story multi-tenant professional office buildings on property located at approximately 1877 West State Street in the Grove Zone Commercial Sales Subdistrict. I'll turn the time over to Riley.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. The proposal is for a 6-lot plat called Battle Creek Business Park Plat B and site plan for the proposed lots 3 through 6. Here's a zoning map showing the location of the property in the Grove Zone in the Commercial Sales Subdistrict. And here's an aerial image of the property. Here's the proposed plat called Battle Creek Business Park Plat B. It will include 6 lots, and each of those lots will have a 3-story multi-tenant office building. The site plan for units A and B on lots 1 and 2 were heard by the Planning Commission in 2019. Since then, the approval for those site plans has expired, and that item will be reheard by the Planning Commission on May 13th. So the items that are being heard tonight are the proposal for the 6-lot plat called Battle Creek Business Park Plat B for this entire property, and then the site plan for the office buildings, units C, D, E, and F on lots 3, 4, 5, and 6. Here's the proposed site plan for these buildings. In the Grove Zone in the Commercial Sales Subdistrict, there is no minimum lot area or lot width requirement. So the proposed subdivision meets all requirements in the city code. The required building setbacks or landscape buffer is 25 feet and is measured from State Road. In the zone, there is also no side or rear yard setbacks, so each building meets setback requirements for this zone. The parking needs for this site were estimated based on the city code ratio for professional office buildings, which is 1 stall for every 300 square feet of office area. Each building is about 19,570 square feet, which is divided evenly between 3 stories. And so for all total 4 buildings, there is 78,276 square feet of office space. So with that amount, at least 261 total spaces are required. The site plan meets this requirement by providing 279 stalls, including 9 ADA compliant spaces, and meets off-street parking requirements. Here's the landscape plan for this site. It's in 2 parts. Oops, sorry. Actually, no, it's just together. It may be in 2 parts in your staff report. In this zone, the commercial sales subdistrict requires a mix of landscape elements, and at least 1 tree is required per 1,000 square feet of landscaped area, and 30% of the total number of required trees must be evergreen. The proposed site contains 60 total trees, 18 of which are evergreen, which is about 30%, or which is 30% and meets landscaping requirements for this zone. The DRB, our design review board, has also reviewed the proposal and has recommended approval and found that the site and the building meet the requirements for urban design as well as building materials and design. Here's the color scheme key that has been proposed, that has been submitted by the applicant, and it shows the different color scheme proposals for each of these buildings. So for buildings C and F, we'll have color scheme 1, buildings B and D will have color scheme 2, and buildings A and E will have color scheme 3. And here are those color schemes. Here's color scheme 1, color scheme 2, and color scheme 3. Staff has reviewed the proposal and determined that the site plan and plat meet existing code requirements for landscaping, design, setbacks, parking, and all other requirements, and recommend approval with the following conditions. CC&Rs will be submitted that address utilities, cross-parking, maintenance, and any other necessary requirements. The minor site plan amendment for the neighboring property for Capital Community Bank is approved in conjunction with the UDOT agreements for the site plan, and all final planning, engineering, and fire department requirements are met. And if the commission has questions about the UDOT agreements, you can direct those to Aaron. He'll be able to answer those. So that's what I have. I can take any questions if you have any.
Thanks, Riley. Does anyone have any questions for Riley?
What is the cross-parking concern you have?
Yeah, so all the parking is provided, like for each site. The cross-parking agreement would allow someone who is going to work, say, in building C to park over here. So anyone who's going to any of these buildings can park anywhere on the site. And that allows the parking requirements to be met on each of those lots.
Riley, can you refresh my memory? Are there any material changes to this that from the time that we originally saw it in 2019?
No.
No. Okay.
They're the same.
And what are the concerns with the? Can you explain a little bit about the second condition with the minor site amendment?
Yeah.
By Capital Bank.
So included with this, I'll just come back to this aerial image. Capital Community Bank is right here to the west of the property. There's going to be some minor changes to access to this property that will change the parking and some landscaping at that site. They have submitted a minor site plan amendment that will be approved by staff, and in staff's review, it does appear to meet city code requirements.
Okay. And it looks like to me that as of this point, the only access point is State Street. Is that correct?
That is actually not correct. There's going to be access here, like into that neighboring site. There is also going to be some accesses into this area over here.
Okay.
There is also an easement that will come out here onto North County Boulevard. An easement for access.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess my concern was that people entering don't all have to enter. If they're trying to access those southern
Mhm.
properties or the office buildings, they aren't all coming off of State Street?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
So with the condominium complex
Mhm.
that's down there, there's not going to be any access between these buildings and the condominium complex, correct? Because there should be a fence, from my
Yes,
understanding, right?
I believe the access, actually, let me come up here. There is going to be a fence. I believe the accesses are going to be there into the commercial area only.
So only into the commercial area?
Yeah.
And is that going to be one or two access points into the commercial area?
Looks like two.
Yeah.
It does look like two, just want to confirm.
I believe it's 2, but I'm not certain. Let's see.
It looks like that.
Looks like on
Do
lot
you
6
know
and
off
lot
the top of your head if
5,
it's 1
or
2?
4, I mean.
Uh-huh.
You don't know? Okay. All right.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. If you'd like, I can pull up our review real quick and we can take a look.
No, that's okay.
Aaron, is that required, do you know if that's required by fire, whatever, to put that easement in to North County Boulevard beforehand? To make the road go through there, or does the other
I think it's
accesses-
a requirement of kind of a combination so that they have plenty of access, like Bobby Joe was mentioning. It would be really difficult if people were trying to go through,
one
say
place?
the Walmart parking lot or some of these other areas to access it. So they were required to provide an access. And so that access, they have that main access off of State Street that they're providing, and then one off of North County Boulevard. And those are their main 2 accesses that are required.
That brings to mind about the fire, so will fire trucks be able to get to the southernmost buildings without any issue?
I think because of that North County access, yes.
But the North County access is on the northern side of the entire property, right? Or is that?
Yeah, it's further,
It's
It's
further-
approximately halfway down the site. That's not the best representation of it, but it kind of comes right along, I believe, the southern part of Stan Smith's home off of North County Boulevard, which is towards the bottom end of that.
On lot 1?
Kind of between
Is it
between
right
there.
here?
Okay,
It goes
so
over.
that's where it's at. Okay.
Yeah, that was my concern too. Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you, Riley. Is the applicant here? No, interesting. Oh, yeah. Okay, would you like to say anything?
No, I was just asked to come, everybody was out of town, so
Okay,
I'm a bird home, so.
Okay.
Not Susan Palmer, but Woodlawn's doing development.
okay, thank you. Sorry, tell us your name,
Danny Bird,
and you're representing,
Bird Home, the developer, the contractor.
okay, thank you, Danny. All right, and this is a public hearing, so we'll open our time up to anyone that has any comment on items 1 or 2.
Yeah, it's gotta be right there.
Seeing none, I will bring these items back up to the commission, and we will have a discussion. Is there anything that you like to discuss or any concerns that you have? I think since we've seen this before, and we were
I was-
okay with it before.
I was just trying to remember.
I know, I was trying to
Stuff on
remember
it,
too, and I,
Well, it was 2019, and that was before the pandemic.
I think some of the stuff was really how it connected to
the
the
access.
Walmart property and
Yeah,
how
Yeah.
things would get in and out.
right.
And since it was lot 1, that was down at the bottom, so there was that concern.
Well, let's ask this, Aaron, since you mostly come to these meetings and never talk at all, we'll let you talk today. What is the UDOT agreement there? Do
As
you know?
far as,
The access, and how will that change where Capital Community Bank exits now?
so as
They
far
have
as.
two, they have 2 accesses off State Street,
Yes.
and then that other one would be super close, or does that blend in, or what's happening there?
So, I believe, if
on the
I'm
north side.
understanding this right.
On the north side of the property?
They're actually closing and combining their access with the access to the site. So it'll kind of go down the property line of a little bit, but Capital Community's closing their existing access where it is today, and then people who go to Capital Community will access just a little bit farther to the east of where they do today to access on the east side of Capital Community, because they also have access on the west side of their building.
They have west, and they have 2 on the north.
So
Well,
the-
I meant, yeah, so on the north side, on
Yeah.
State Street, I was
Yeah.
only referring to State Street. So
Yeah,
they have an access on the east side of their building and the west side of their building.
yeah,
And the one on the east side of their building is going to be closed, combined, moved a little bit
Over.
to the east with the whole business park. So
Okay.
anyone who wants to use that existing east access would come in through the business park. And that kind of plays into that modified site plan that Riley was talking about.
right.
They're kind of closing that piece off and moving it a little bit.
So they'll just have the one access from State Street then?
They'll still have two.
They'd have
They'll
two.
still have two from State Street and then one from North County Boulevard, just for the CC Bank
So
area.
which one are you saying they're gonna close off
The east side.
The east one.
on State Street?
If you go through their drive-through, you come straight out of their drive-through, they'll push you off. Dustin, you keep shaking your head. Would you like to make a comment?
He can't. He had to abstain. Okay.
You can make a comment.
Oh, yeah, I guess you can be, you can be public now. Okay. Anyone else? Any other questions or discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval for the request of Ridgepoint Management Group, Susan Palmer, for the subdivision plat called Battle Creek Business Park Plat B on property at approximately 1877 West State Street in the Grove Zone Commercial Sales Subdistrict, and adopting the exhibits, conditions, and findings of the staff report and as modified by the conditions below. 1, CCNRs will be submitted that address utilities, cross-parking, maintenance, and any other necessary requirements. 2, minor site plan amendment for the neighboring property for Capital Community Bank is approved in conjunction with UDOT agreements. And 3, all final planning, engineering, and fire department requirements are met.
I'll second it.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Coombs and a second by Commissioner Clyde to approve the item 1 on our agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Any discussion on item 2 or concerns?
I'll make a motion.
Perfect, thanks.
I move the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval for the request of Ridgepoint Management Group, Susan Palmer, for the proposed site plan on property at approximately 1877 West State Street in the Grove Zone Commercial Sales Subdistrict, and adopting the exhibits, conditions, and findings of the staff report, with the condition that all final planning, engineering, and fire department requirements are met.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Still and a second by Commissioner Butler to approve item 2 on tonight's agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Thank you. We'll invite Commissioner Phillips to come back and join us. And we'll move on to item 3, which is a public hearing for a site plan located approximately 220 South, 250 West in the Sam White's Lane neighborhood. It's a public hearing to consider a quick request of Chad Nelson for a site plan for a 2-story professional office building on property located approximately 220 South, 2500 West in the Grove Zone Mixed Housing Subdistrict. We'll turn the time over to Riley.
Thank you, Chair. The proposal is for a 2-story office building called Anderson Office Building, located at approximately 220 South, 2500 West in the Grove Zone Mixed Housing Subdistrict. Here's a zoning map showing its location in the Grove Zone Mixed Housing Subdistrict. And here's an aerial image of the property. Here's the site plan that is proposed. In the Grove Zone Mixed Housing Subdistrict, there is also no minimum lot area or lot width for any commercial development, and frontage for the site is provided by 2500 West Street. Shown here on the site plan is future Phase 2, which will include a second office building that will be constructed directly to the east, and expansion of the parking area to meet parking requirements for both buildings. This portion of the project will need to be reviewed and follow the appropriate procedure for approval. And for now, that area of the site will be landscaped. The total area of the proposed building is 8,874 square feet, and the required landscape buffer is 25 feet, that is measured from 2500 West. Landscaping requirements for this zone require a mix of landscape elements, and 1 tree is required per 1,000 square feet of landscaped area. And at least 30% of all required trees must be evergreen. The proposed landscape plan provides 27 total trees, 10 of which are evergreen, which is about 37%, and meets landscaping requirements for this zone. The site has been reviewed by the Design Review Board, who found that the site and building meet requirements for urban design as well as for building materials and design. Here are the elevations that have been submitted by the applicant. Coming back to, the site plan. Parking requirements for this site were estimated based off the given ratio in the city code for a professional office, which is 1 space per 300 square feet of floor area. With 8,874 square feet, 30 parking spaces are required with 1 ADA compliant space. The proposed site plan meets this requirement by providing 32 total stalls, including 2 ADA stalls. Staff has had a chance to review the proposal and has determined that the proposed site plan meets requirements for landscaping, design, setbacks, parking, and all other requirements, and recommends approval.
Great. Thanks, Riley. Are there any questions for Riley?
Good.
Has- oh, go
On
ahead.
ours, it says, "Do not disturb this area." I assume that that's the storm drain.
It's
What is
actually,
that landscape going to be?
it's a protected wetland area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
it looks like this has not been divided into lots, this particular plot of land.
So there is an existing plat for the property, let's see. So let's see, it's in your staff report, the existing plat for the property. It's a 2-lot plat and one, like this is lot 1 or 2, and then this is the second lot that's right next to
Okay.
it. So there is an existing subdivision already there.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
but within Lot 2, which we're talking about today, is it unusual to have a developer just develop a part of that if it hasn't been subdivided? Or, I mean, is there anything we need to consider with only half of that lot being developed at this time?
So, not that I know of, I don't think there's any restriction on having more than one, like site plan on a lot or more than one building on a lot. Possibly they may choose to subdivide it in the future, but we're not aware of that at this time.
Okay.
Just from where I
Mhm.
sit in my role at the bank, I mean, you see times where people buy more land than they need, but it's there for future expansion. I think that's probably what this would
Okay.
make perfect sense for. I mean, you buy the entire space because that's what's available, but you don't need to build the entire building yet.
Yeah,
So it's just there for future expansion or future use.
but you don't have to subdivide that.
doTERRA did it, and then they moved their stuff back and forth they kept coming in here and changing it, but I think that was more for insurance.
And I think in this case, as far as subdividing it, there'd be no reason to subdivide it unless they plan to sell off a portion of it, as long as they're going to retain it for themselves. They may subdivide it later if they decided to do that, but for now, I don't think there'd be any real need to do that.
Okay. All right, any other questions for Riley? Hey, thanks, Riley. Is the applicant here?
You're well represented.
Okay. There's nothing you would like to add to this?
Just that's exactly right.
Yeah, why don't you just come up and tell us your name, at least for the record, and
Christopher Anderson, we're building the building there. It's exactly right. We're just, we want that for a future expansion as our business continues to grow, so.
great.
Yeah.
All right, any questions for the applicant? Wait, just 1 minute. I know you want to go sit down again, but
You put your hand up, so.
you're the guy. Anyone? Okay, seeing no questions, you're off the hook. You can go sit down.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, as this is a public hearing, we'll open it up for any public comment on this particular item 3.
I think he said they were all together. so-
Yeah. Would any of you like to add anything? All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing. We'll bring it back up to the commission for any discussion or questions that you may have. I think this is pretty straightforward. So. with
I'll make a
that-
motion.
Thanks, Jeff.
I move the planning commission forward a recommendation of approval for the request of Chad Nielsen for the proposed site plan on property at 220 South, 2500 West in the Grove Zone, Mixed Housing Subdistrict, and adopting the exhibits, conditions, and findings of the staff report, and as modified or by the conditions below. All final planning, engineering, and fire department requirements are met.
I'll second it.
Great, I have a motion by Commissioner Butler and a second by Commissioner Clyde to approve item 3. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, seeing none, the motion passes.
Oh, no, you've just started.
Yeah, that's the
celebrate.
easy part, that's the easy part.
Go celebrate, get yourself some ice cream.
Yeah, have a good night, thanks for coming. All right, we'll move to, as we said before, item 4 is continued to the next meeting on May 13th, so we'll move to items 5 and 6, which I believe are going to be heard together. We'll turn the time over to Daniel.
I thought everybody was here for that item.
Well, now you can swear if you want.
No, nobody's been here for a code text amendment.
I don't feel special anymore. Riley, you stole my thunder.
She's the most popular
Next
one.
time, let him go first so he thinks the crowd is here for him.
She's the most suddenly it's high school all over again.
She gets the most likes.
Okay, I'm gonna try to make this super fast, but ask me if you guys have questions. We're talking about the rural residential zone. The rural residential zone, we have our permitted uses, and then we have our conditional uses. The reason behind this is because the staff is making this proposal is conditional uses are becoming a nuisance for the neighbors, okay? Do you guys remember barbed wire and lace? So many complaints about barbed wire and lace.
If we have that back one open.
Multiple complainings about barbed wire and lace. I've talked to the neighbors, I've talked to their attorneys. It's a little complicated. And what I've realized, or what
Sorry,
staff has...
Daniel, we need to have at least one door open.
Yeah,
The
you
city
need to have
attorney
one door
has-
open.
Just open this one. And maybe, really, do you mind just asking them if they'll, like, yeah, move outside?
It's 80 degrees.
We'll open the one in the back. We were literally behind closed doors. All right, doors open, I'm gonna continue. So we have a list of uses, and the zone is rural residential, but so it's pretty much for families, for residential, with a little bit of what I run that for sprinkles of agricultural uses. That's the main reason for this zone. That's the nature of this zone, is residential. But if we take a look at some of the conditional uses, we realize that some of them are pretty heavy commercial uses. Some of them are really intense. We have, for example, in some of the uses that I'm proposing to remove bed and breakfast in, right? But we don't have, we have it as a conditional use, which is a problem in itself. Having conditional uses without conditions right there, it's complicated. That's something that we've been trying to do for many years, to eliminate conditional uses. Best cities don't have conditional uses anymore. They're just a liability right there. Because we have, for example, right there, bed and breakfast in, but how big? Can it be 100 bedrooms? Can you have 2 swimming pools? Sure. We don't have anything in our code that kind of like restricts that, and it's up to interpretation. Then we have a public hearing here, and then the neighbors come with their torches and pitchforks to you guys to complain, and then you guys got to make decisions right there. It's complicated. Conditional uses should not exist, period. Unless there's like an extreme circumstance, something that we know what conditions we're going to impose on it. So again, the proposal right now is to eliminate all the commercial uses in the zone, uses that staff consider do not belong to residential uses. Okay, whatever happened in the past, there's nothing we can do, but it's from now on. Now, all of these uses, guys, all of these uses can still be applied. They all exist in an overlay zone. So if someone wants to eventually use these uses or put these uses, it's not going to be an administrative decision. A conditional use is an administrative decision. The problem is that sometimes it goes into the legislative decision, and that's what is complicated. Because administrative decision, we should be, okay, this is what you're proposing, these are the rules, because we already have them. But when we don't have the rules and we start saying, we kind of think that we're going to do a fence 6 feet, and someone else says, I think 8 will be better, and then we're making legislative decisions right there. That's not administrative in nature. So if someone wants to come with something like this, and eventually someone wants to do a bed and breakfast, or someone wants to do a reception center, or someone wants to do a soccer field or a basketball field to rent out to people, there's a way to do it, but it's going to be under a legislative decision. They have to impose an overlay and then apply those uses. If you guys think about this, I keep forgetting about the name of this place, the old church, Manila Church. Thank you very much. That's what happened to Stonegate. Okay, Stonegate is in a residential zone. They apply an overlay zone, and they can have those uses. So I'm not like disappearing these uses. I'm just making them that they're not just for a residential zone. Right now, for example, I have the family who owns right here in 100 East. You guys keep going right here. At one point, you're going to see a piece of property in a corner that have ponies or llamas, something like that, right? And they want to have a reception center. This after I submit for this application, and I told them, you know what? Right now, you cannot do it anymore. And staff is happy that they can't do it anymore, and say, if you guys want to do it, then let's put it through a legislative decision. You can apply this overlay, and they're thinking, well, sure. It is a property that is meant for that. Right? It has a historical cabin. It was like the first cabin or something like that here in PG. And so there's an opportunity for them, but as a legislative decision, not anymore as an administrative decision. If it was up to me right now, I will eliminate every single conditional use in every single zone. It's just taking me forever to get there. But I think we're taking small steps right now. Okay, so that's the first proposal. And the uses that were eliminated, I list them right here, are these ones. They're all commercial in nature. Bed and breakfast, retail of candy, reception centers, resorts and group camps. That one is super complicated, actually. And recreation activities. And what that one means is just like basketball things and stuff like that. Now, again, I don't want my planning commission to get confused and say, well, now nobody can have a basketball court. No, that's not the case. These uses are for commercial uses only. That's when you make a basketball court or a pickleball court, and then you rent them, and then you put your parking, and then that's the type of uses that we're limiting. We're not limiting for someone to have for example, can someone have a retail of candy? Sure, on their basement. Or taking like a home occupation type of business, not something that is going to occupy the entire parcel. Because right now, someone can do it, the entire parcel. Can someone have a bed and breakfast? Well, we're working on that ordinance that is going to allow for Airbnbs. But right now, someone can just buy 2 acres and put right there a hotel. Boom, that's it. Right? So that's what we're trying to do. This use is going to have 2 ways to do it still, under an overlay, or keep them limited on their home occupants, occupancy permit. That thing, you guys got it, right? The permits that we give, for example, to right here, which says babysitting bureaus. Like we still going to give license to people who wants to do daycare in their homes, in their basements, babysitting. That still happens, but this is using the entire property for that main use. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2.
Can I ask a quick question about that? What does that do with this guy that
Nothing.
we've been dealing with? Because he's already applied, is that why?
Yeah.
Even though it hasn't been approved?
Yeah. No, it has been approved. The use has been approved by you guys. You guys given a conditional use.
If they've applied before the change is made, you can't go back and say, oh, no, we changed the rules on you.
Yeah, but it has been approved. So the land use, what hasn't been approved is the actual structure, but the use has been approved. That's what we did here in the meeting. Okay? That's a huge headache. Tremendous headache. Okay? don't want to face that again. And I think we put ourselves in a position by doing this that we don't have to deal with that type of stuff anymore. And again, we're not going more restrictive. They still can do it, but now we're making a legislative decision instead of administrative decision. That's the most important thing to keep in mind, okay? Any questions on this item? Should I jump to item number 2?
Did the PEC building, was that approved as an overlay as well?
What?
The PEAC building across the street from Stonegate?
Peak.
It was part of,
The
it was
peak.
part of that same overlay.
The big, yes, no, this is the entire zone.
Yep.
It was, that used to be the parking for Stonegate, so it's the entire zone, yeah.
Okay, so it was an overlay there?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was already there. It wasn't newly approved
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
It was-
Yeah, the overlay was already installed, if we can say, it was already.
I guess the only thing is I'm looking at this and I see that the proposal is to eliminate recreation activities, but we still are allowing recreational fishing activities. I'm just wondering, like, are we being arbitrary in the ones that we're picking?
We need to keep that one because that one is someone's gonna be really hard for someone to put a pond, but we have a pond right there where we allowed, it's a fishing pond actually. People actually do it for kayak, but it's a fishing pond.
But if someone wanted to
Manila
run a
Pond.
boat tour off of their property.
There's no
then-
way that someone can do it like that. I think, I don't want to turn the use that we already have non-conforming. The least I can stay from it, the better. I don't want to turn again non-conforming uses, and it was recommended to keep it there for that reason. Because I don't want to turn a use that the city owns, or the city is doing right now, non-conforming.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what did you say about Airbnbs?
I'm working on an ordinance on it. Eventually, it's going to happen, right? But it's not that simple.
Okay.
But right now, they're not allowed. We're working on it. I think it's most cities have it, but when I work on it, it's not gonna be a conditional use. It's gonna be permitted under these circumstances, and I need to come out with some regulations similar to accessory apartments. So we need to come with some regulations like that. I don't want to make conditional. Again, the less we can stay out of conditional uses, the better for everybody. Okay.
So what's the difference between, or what's the reasoning for sanitarium, convalescent, and rest homes versus, like babysitting bureaus under here?
Well, those are residential uses, right?
Is that the biggest difference?
But also, I'm pretty sure that legally we can't forbid substance abuse facilities or
Oh yeah. No.
elder care facilities
we-
in a residential zone.
Okay.
State law doesn't allow it.
Thank you.
That
Yes.
makes sense, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I
by
just-
federal law, we cannot.
That makes sense.
Yeah, we cannot take those away.
And I've been into some situations where they're awful.
I've got a
Like
neighbor
these
that has
people have
one.
been buying these big houses,
Yeah.
and then the next thing you know, they got like
Yeah.
700 cars on the street.
Yeah.
Those are more impactful than anything that we've had.
Yeah,
My
but
my
we
corner
cannot.
neighbor.
We cannot even.
They're awful.
And I think we're deviating out of this topic, but it was last year. We had the same situation. I went to litigation, and I wrote a law. You guys remember? It was one of the first things that I did when I started working here. That was like 5 years ago. Peter was here, Lisa was here. When I limited to a total of 8 people, I made them permitted, but up to 8 people, and that helped us a lot. So we're not taking them away, we're not removing them, but we're just putting certain limitations as well, which it was interesting situation, yeah. But we cannot kick them out of a residential zone.
Yeah, I know that, but thanks for limiting to 8.
All right, so that's what I have. Without any further ado or further
Oh,
questions.
I was just going to say, I would think that a lot of these could just be shifted to permitted uses, like tree farms.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's more work and probably a future thing, but a number of these, the towers and antennas that we already have limits on.
Yeah.
Those, I feel like those don't need to be conditional uses, probably.
The ones that are there, that are left out right there, those are gonna be moved to permitted uses eventually.
Yeah.
It was just that when this was totally was it's a reaction type of situation, and I just listed because I put it in the newspaper just these uses, so I gotta keep it to these
Yeah.
uses maximum. Something to keep.
That's
But
fine.
yes,
I don't have a problem
again,
with
one
that.
thing that for sure we gotta do, it's to remove conditional uses. It's something that we have to work on it. ginormous task, but eventually we'll get there. A lot of commercial zones and manufacturing zones, we don't have commercial uses. We have gotten rid of all of them, actually, but in our residential, we still have some of those.
You're going to put us out of business, which I'm fine with. Okay, all right. So I think, any other questions on item 5? Okay.
Perfect. Item 6. This item is really, I'm gonna see if I can, if you guys have questions, please stop me right now, okay? I wish I had an image, but I don't have an image. The maximum height of a building, of a main building, in the rural residential zone is 35 feet. That's the maximum height. Okay, that's what the code says. So the maximum height is 35 feet. Now, when we already established in our definition section, what's the definition of building height? And we have been applying it. To be honest with you, our definition, I think, is great. It's the same definition that other cities have. It's the same definition that I applied in my previous job when I was the planner for Big Cotton Canyon and Little Cotton Canyon. I used to call them Big Cotton Canyon and Small Cotton Canyon. People always laugh when I say Cotton.
They knew you weren't from around these parts.
What?
They knew you weren't from around these parts.
And also from Immigration Canyon. So the slopes right there are tremendous. The slopes are tremendous. A lot of those buildings need to be terraced, and I think 50% of the project is just based on the grading and how they're gonna fit those cabins and how they're gonna do it and how we're gonna measure. And I have some experience on that. And our definition is pretty simple. Our definition, I think I put it right here. Let me see. Yeah, right here. This is our definition that we have for building height. The vertical distance measured from the average elevation, this is very important, this is really nice, from the average elevation of the finished lot grade. We're very nice because we went to finish, you know, Salt Lake County says from, it doesn't say finish, it's like natural grade. So from finished lot grade, at each face of the building, saying that you can have multiple faces in a building, to the highest point of the roof, provided that those structures set for shall be excluded from, say, measurement. In other words, we don't measure chimneys, and we don't measure architectural features for a building. Those you can have, right? Parts of a building that are not used for human occupancy. That's the definition of it. Anyway, so in other words, if you have a terrain that is a slope like this, and then a slope like this, you're gonna put a building right there, okay? First of all, you need to find the average, and what you do, you go to the highest point, the lowest point, and draw a line. Find the middle of where the building is located, and from there, go 35 feet. Simple like that. If we do it like that, obviously, where the grading is going down, if you measure from there, the building is going to be way taller than 35. But where it's higher, it's going to be shorter than 35. But that's why this is fantastic. From the average elevation. So we get the average. And it doesn't matter how many sides a building has. A building can have seven faces, 7 sides, and 5 of them can be taller, but 2 of them need to be way shorter because we need to find, again, the average elevation. Simple like that. And we've done it like that. Now, a problem that we have in our code, and we have never had problems with that. I've always applied like that, and it's a good way to do it. The problem with our code is that if we go not to the definition, but to the actual code, we're going to find this language right here. That is a little funky. It says, not a lot of parcel of land in the rural residential zone shall have a main building or a structure which exceeds a height of 2.5 stories with a maximum of 35 feet. And then this is what I was talking about earlier. Chimneys, flagpoles, or similar structures not used for human occupancy are excluded in determining height. Now, what staff is proposing is to eliminate the entire next sentence. Notwithstanding these provisions, main buildings which exceed the maximum height of 35 feet may be approved by the issuance of a conditional use permit. That's poison right there. Upon findings of not significant loss of light, air, and views of surrounding properties, making this extremely subjective and hard to prove, difficult to prove. There's usually no way for both parties, the one that is saying I want to go higher and the one saying I don't want them to go higher. It is complicated. So upon findings of not significant, that's the thing, significant. What is significant? That we don't know. And views of surrounding properties, or where, by reason of topography, only one side of the dwelling may exceed 35 feet. So if we realize we're asking them for them to get a conditional use if only one side is taller than 35. And our definition says, no, you can have more than one side. You can have 3 if you want to, as long as the other 3 average, or 4 and 2 average, there's no big deal. It doesn't have to come in front of you guys. But how this is written, if someone wants to do a 50 feet tall building, comes to you guys, ask for a conditional use, and it will be complicated for everybody, for the applicant, for the neighbors, for the planning commission, from the staff, for everybody. So the proposal is to eliminate that. At the end, again, we're not being more restrictive. That's something very important that I need everybody to know. The tallest we can have, 35 is a ginormous type of a building. Now, when there's some problems with grading, can that building be taller in some areas? Absolutely, no biggie. We have the average, we have our definition. But how about if someone wants to go to 45? I mean, at what point is the planning commission? That's when we jump into legislative decisions. How are you guys gonna decide if you guys wanna go to 45, 41, 43, 44? So it's a little complicated, right? And staff considers that 35 is a perfectly good height for a building in the rural residential zone. Now we're talking about dwellings and accessory, not accessory, we're talking about main buildings, okay?
Question. Then what's the point of the 2.5 stories? I mean, why does it say 2.5? If it's 35 feet, it's 35 feet, right?
I think most of
I had a house plan that actually has 3 stories,
yeah.
but it's under 35. I actually built one in Pleasant Grove,
You wouldn't be allowed to build that.
not in rural residential.
Do we have the same rule on the residential zone? It's pretty similar, right? I think all of our residential zones have something like that.
But I just don't know why it says 2.5.
I don't know.
So I owned a house, the house that I owned on 18, just south of 1800. I said it was a 5-story building. But technically, it was a 2.5-story, because it was a split level, but it was like, you walked in and there were half-story levels. And so it's the 2.5-story, but it's really,
So that house I built in the Parade of Homes here in Pleasant Grove was 3-story building. No. They passed it. They approved it. They saw the building permit. I guess my point is
I get that part.
I think if it's
we can
35
discuss
feet, what
that.
does it
I want to
matter?
discuss that, but let's go back to the height of the building, and we'll come back to that.
well, that's why I'm saying if it's 35 feet, number of stories doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It should just be 35 feet because you could have a 35-foot Rambler if you really wanted.
you have a family of little people and do a 6-story within 35 feet.
No, I've been in a house in Mapleton that literally had massive ceilings and it was a Rambler, yes.
You know what? There's no I have no problems with eliminating that 2.5 stories. No
I
big.
just think it's weird that it's there.
35 is it's the maximum.
Right.
My question was, do we have these sections in all of the residential code? I mean, does every,
Are you saying, do we have building heights in all the
yeah,
residentials?
and do
Yes.
those all need to be, do
Yes.
those all need to be amended as well? Do they have these conditional?
Probably.
So I'm just curious why we're just picking rural residential. I mean, I think I know, but like,
Oh,
shouldn't we
we
be?
have a problem. No, but it's clear, we have a problem, and someone wants to build a building taller than that, and I don't think that's appropriate for, if staff have been limiting the size of residential buildings, staff doesn't think it's appropriate to build a commercial building taller than 35 feet.
Right, and I get that, but I guess my question is, should we be making the same amendment across the board?
Eventually, once I get a second planner, we'll get it for sure.
Okay.
Riley?
Well, but do they all say the same, they allow for a conditional?
To be honest with you, I don't know. Maybe something similar. We can take a look at it right now. Let's see.
I second that. All in favor?
I,
We can look at it later.
I agree with you though, Daniel. It's just, it's contradictory, right? Should
Yep,
just be
we-
35 feet, should be the average, it
I
should just,
agree.
yeah.
I
You know
agree
what?
with your, I
Next-
agree with what you're trying to do. I'm just saying, because I do agree with that, if it's
Next
got a
planning
problem with this
commission,
on
you
other,
guys will have an application to remove the
Okay.
one in the single
then
family.
we should be consistent through
Yeah,
our
for sure.
entire residential code, right?
Now that Riley saw how I did this one, she will do the
And
next one.
possibly eliminating the story, the.
Well, I don't
story
think the
of
number of stories matters.
Yeah, and we
I
can
mean,
talk
it
about
does
that
to a
later, too.
point, it does to a certain point. But 35 feet is it?
Staff agrees 35 is a good limit. I think we should leave it at 35 and eliminate the 2.5. It's complicated to, I don't see a problem with 2.5 stories.
Okay.
Eliminating that.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Daniel on this, on item 6? The proposed amendment? Not the other stuff we've been talking about. We'll address that later.
Daniel, I have a question for that, because this is based off, no, this 35 feet is based off the finished grade, which is subjective also slightly.
No, well, it's not, I mean, finished grade is finished grade.
Like
If
built grade,
if an
for
applicant goes and completely changes the grade, I mean, that's what I'm saying. The code is really permissive. Is that a word? Like, it's a good, it's very lax, if I may say it like that. It doesn't say natural grade. I've seen ones that says natural grade. This one doesn't say natural grade. So it allows for the applicants to change the grading at certain point of certain lots and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Tim, for your next Parade of Homes house, you can build a hill
I will
up
never
over the
do
back of it.
I will never do another parade of homes.
Yeah, just build a hill up so then the finished
wanna-
grade is above the roof.
Before I sit down, I want to make sure that we understand that this is not the intent of a staff to make things more restrictive. I think we've been approved every dwelling at 35. Again, it's based on
It's just contradictory.
it's contradictory, and I got you guys back. I don't want to put you guys in hot water anymore.
Yeah,
It's a complicated situation, not just for you, for the staff as well. It's complicated for the people that come and they are against it. It's complicated for the people who are in favor of it. And then, but by the way, before I go there, I want to say that I watch our 2 planning commissions that we had for the last conditional use for a structure similar to this, and I think you guys did a tremendous job. I think staff also worked really well on this. I was really happy and well, I was really content, and I think we all did a good job on those.
I think what you're doing is cleaning it up and making it easier
For sure, and
for
we don't
us
have to put ourselves in a situation.
Yeah,
Again,
I think
you-
you're doing great.
you guys have done a fantastic job. I watched this with an attorney, different attorney, and they say, you know what, props to your planning commission, props to the staff. You guys did a good job on this one, so.
Yeah, I think
Thank
this
you,
is in
guys.
harmony with eliminating conditional uses where we don't need them, and especially when the code covers this elsewhere, then we should eliminate anything that's contradictory to that.
Decisions when
Right.
it should be administrative. ones.
Exactly. No, that actually helps us a lot, so.
Yeah, we need to pass that crap along.
Get that in the record, crap. Okay. All right. Any other questions for Daniel? He's already sat down, so I guess not. And I guess this is a public hearing, so we will open it up to if there's any public comment. Seeing none, I'll bring it back up to the commission as for any discussion or any further questions that you may have.
So are we taking the 2.5 stories out?
Yeah, I think it should.
Do you want to do that now?
We can
Okay.
just add that as a condition. I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Do it.
Sounds good. Sorry, I'm assuming you're going to make two separate motions here?
Oh, for the two pieces.
So which one do you want to?
Yes,
have
I'll make a motion for item 5.
Item 5. Okay, perfect.
I move the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the proposed amendments to City Code Section 10-9A-2, permitted conditional and accessory uses in the RR Rural Residential Zone, and adopting the exhibits, conditions, and findings of the staff reports with the condition that all final planning, building, engineering, and fire department requirements are met.
I'll second.
Great. I have a motion by Commissioner Still and a second by Commissioner Coombs to approve item 6.
Item 5.
Item 5, sorry, on the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, seeing none, then the item passes. Do we need to have a condition that all final planning, building, engineering, and fire? Something like that?
Always do that.
Yeah, even on a text amendment?
Yes, you know, this is the net. We're professionals and we do all these flips and the circles, but just in case something happens, having that language right there helps us a lot.
Okay, all right, sounds good. All right, seeing that, we move on to item 6. If anyone would like to make a motion, that would be great. Unless you have any further discussion or questions.
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Jeff.
I move the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the proposed amendments to City Code Section 10-9A-10, building height in the RR Rural Residential Zone, and adopting the exhibits, conditions, and findings of the staff report, and as modified that the 2.5 stories be eliminated from it. And all final planning, building, engineering, and fire department requirements are met.
I'll second.
Okay. Just to be clear, I think what meaning with that additional condition would be that we would remove the language. It would just read, which exceeds a height of, with a maximum of 35. Do we still want to keep with the maximum of 35 feet in there? Okay, so we're just eliminating of 2 and 1.5 stories with.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure we get that written down clearly. So I have a motion by Commissioner Butler and a second by Commissioner Coombs, I believe it was, to approve item 6 on the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, seeing no opposition, that item passes. Great. So with that, we will move to approving the minutes from last 2 meetings, April 8th and April 22nd. Actually, we didn't have a meeting on April 22nd. So, oh yeah, we did actually have minutes for our continuing. That's correct. Those were short minutes. Does anyone want to?
I think they should be continued since Todd's not here.
I was going to motion we accept them with any adjustments Todd made.
Has anyone
future
heard
adjustments?
Yeah, has anyone heard from Todd on that? Okay, so seriously, does anyone want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the April 8th, 2021 meeting and the April 22nd?
Yes, which was carried free.
I will second that.
Great, I have a motion from Commissioner Coombs and a second by Commissioner Clyde to approve the minutes from the past 2 meetings. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that seems to be all our business, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, great. Do I need to say who did that? Commissioner Coombs made the motion.